A while back, I uploaded a video about a game called New Retro Arcade. Afterwards, I thought, man, I'm so glad I never have to do anything like that again. Surely this is the best way to play retro games in VR. Honestly, it's probably the only way, right? There's no way anyone's gonna make an entirely different game that lets you upload your own ROMs and play emulate. Someone did it. Here it is. It's right here in front of me. It was never my intention to become the play retro games in VR guy, but after finding this game, it would feel like a total disservice not to talk about it. It has one key feature that blows New Retro Arcade completely out of the water. Introducing EmuVR. Look at this guy, he's an emu. Get it? Because emu's like emulation. Just like New Retro, EmuVR lets you dive into a virtual environment to play emulated games. There's just something about being able to upload an actual copy of your favorite game that just feels so cool. Like boom, you're now playing Minish Cap. I think a good way to show off EmuVR's features is to do a bit of a compare and contrast with New Retro. I'll first start off with some of EmuVR's negative points. In other words, what I think New Retro did better. Number 1. Scale. This is probably the most obvious difference. When you load into New Retro and you walk through that initial hallway, you can feel the anticipation building. Then you turn that corner and you're just in awe as you're bombarded by the sights and the sounds. When you load into EmuVR, you're just kind of in your room. Don't get me wrong, it's cozy, it's comfy in your bedroom, and I could definitely imagine people that would actually prefer this to the arcade. However, it's just fun to walk around and see all the different cabinets laid out, and there are track screens, and there's just more things to interact with outside of the actual emulated games. It really feels like a place you could host a big party as opposed to just inviting a few friends over to your room, which again is something I can totally see some people prefer. Number 2. Actually, I think that's really all I got. I was going to talk about how EmuVR lacks some models for things. For example, in New Retro, not only could you see the joystick move around and the buttons being pushed for the arcade machines, but the console also had a proper controller model. There's even physical Game Boy systems that you could pick up and play games on. It really does help with immersing yourself to see these things, even if it's just in your peripheral most of the time. Aside from light guns, EmuVR is missing any sort of controller model, and not all the consoles have their very own model. Many of them use generic ones. That being said, EmuVR is still in beta, and it's fairly clear that more models are on their way, so it didn't seem fair to really strike a point off for this. Alright, now let's cover the points where EmuVR really shines. Number 1. Price. I just want to get this out of the way really quick. EmuVR is free, and according to its creator, will always be free. Okay, capiche? Okay. Number 2. Documentation. Arguably, this has nothing to do with the game itself, but when it comes to these kinds of games that require a lot of setup on the player's end, documentation is critical. If you need your players to do work in order for the game to actually function, then you better have clear instructions on how to do it. New Retro had some good guides on Steam to help through the process, and it was definitely enough to get you started with the basics. Obviously, I was able to make the arcade that I wanted, but I won't lie and say that there wasn't a lot of troubleshooting when I wanted to do anything fancy. EmuVR has a dedicated wiki that contains everything you need to know. Look, you can download the game directly from here. You can get the required RetroArch files here. You can order Wendy's 4 for 4 meal. Where's the 4 for 4 meal? $5 biggie bag. 2 for 6. All the instructions on how to set up your games are here. It's all neatly separated into categories like controls, and it includes pages specifically for troubleshooting and an FAQ. If you read through all these pages, you should not have any trouble setting up and getting started. But if you do run into problems, of course, there's a Discord community that is always ready to make sure you actually did read the documentation. Even the developer of the game will chime in and help. Just whatever you do, don't ask for ROMs. Don't ask for ROMs. Number 3. It's still getting updates. Okay, number 4. Setup. In New Retro, adding games is a bit of a manual process. It does come with a nice utility where you can add games and then pick exactly where in the arcade you want the cabinet and even preview its art. It's actually pretty robust. However, you have to know which emulation core is the correct one to use for each game. And if you don't have the core, you have to go out and get it yourself. And you have to do all this for each individual game. EmuVR's utility is called the Game Scanner. Certainly it's not as pretty, but it's still powerful. After putting all of your
legally acquired ROMs
into folders for each system, with a couple of clicks, the utility does an automatic scan and not only picks the best cores for all of your games, but goes and gets them for you if you don't have them. In general, EmuVR seems to be compatible with more game systems out of the box, although some games may still require some manual steps, which I think just kind of comes with the territory. Number 5. Customization. EmuVR's customization options are what you would expect. You could put in your own wallpaper, posters, spreadsheets, and of course each game cartridge or disc can be customized with your own art. But you know what really sets EmuVR apart? A Google Doc spreadsheet. I'm talking almost 47,000 game labels ready to go. You just click the category you want, let's say Nintendo 64, and then you'll be presented with a list. You just find the game you're looking for, like, what's 40 Winks? Oh, there's a bunch of room customization options here as well. You can pick from pre-made sets of entire room decorations. Just be careful, because it's very easy to go overboard. Number 6. This is the big one. NetPlay. What is NetPlay? Basically, it allows you to play games with other people over the internet. Now, I can already hear you say, "Oh, but Dado, didn't New Retro have multiplayer?" And to you, I'd say, "Listen, I'm just trying my best, okay? Just leave me alone." In reality, New Retro's multiplayer functionality is completely non-existent when it comes to playing your games together. Sure, you can see and talk to each other, and there's some side activities you can do together, but once someone starts playing an arcade cabinet, you see nothing. You can't even spectate your friends, let alone play a multiplayer game with them. EmuVR takes advantage of RetroArch's NetPlay capabilities so that you can play games with your friends like you would expect. As long as both of you have the exact same ROMs, you'll be able to watch each other play games, take turns controlling the game at any point, and yes, even play together at the same time. Not all systems are NetPlay compatible. Anything newer than PS1 or Nintendo 64 will likely not work. It seems to be a limitation of RetroArch rather than EmuVR itself. However, there are still more than plenty of games to play, and being able to invite your friends over to do it together brings the experience to a whole nother level.
I see the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through to make those rainbows in my mind. When I think of you sometime, and I want to spend some time with you, just the two of us. We can make it if we try, just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us, building castles in the sky. Just the two of us, you and I. We look for love, no time for tears. Wasted water's all that is, and it don't make no flowers grow. Good things might come to those who wait, but not for those who wait too late. We gotta go for all we know. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us. Building them castles in the sky. Just the two of us. You and I.
EmuVR is a passion project from just a single developer, and its potential has me excited for what's to come. If it seems interesting to you at all, please go check it out. Alright, bye, have fun.